Missouri, Donna, independent caller.
Good morning.
Morning.
A couple things. First, I'll be praying today that these Republicans, these desperate Republicans who are so afraid of her winning, that they'll fail today. Secondly, our Senator McCaskill says the Republicans on these committees, they've been leaking cherry-picked info out of context. And then you've got that Kevin McCarthy saying the whole thing was designed to bring down her poll numbers. I mean, they're just getting repulsive, really. They don't care about what's going on in this country at all. All they care about is from day one bringing down Obama so he couldn't win again, and now Hillary because they're so afraid. Why can't they win on their own merits and their own ideas for the presidency?
All right, Donna, let me show you and others and have Mr. Davis respond to what Trey Cowdy had to say about political motivations. He was on CBS's Face the Nation this last weekend.
If you look at the facts, we have done 50 witnesses, one of whom you could argue was exclusively related to her email, and that was the shortest interview we have done. We have 50,000 new documents. Less than 5% have anything to do with Secretary Clinton. She's an important witness, but she is one witness. And by the time we're through, John, we will have interviewed 70 witnesses. So she's one out of the 70. I get that she gets more attention than the other 69. But frankly, if you ask me, the eyewitnesses on night in Benghazi are more important to me as a former prosecutor than the former Secretary of State.
As a former prosecutor, if you looked at the evidence from Republicans in your own party who said this is a political committee, wouldn't that be enough to at least start an investigation into whether this is a politically motivated? I mean, it's a pretty big body of evidence.
Well, actually, there's no evidence. There are three people who don't have any idea what they're talking about. Two of my colleagues, the two Republican members of the conference, have never asked for an update on our committee. They couldn't name 3 witnesses we've talked to. They couldn't tell you a single document production that we have received. And the former staffer left in June, so he has no idea what we've done since June. And his allegation about Secretary Clinton, he never said until he sat down with somebody in your profession last Friday. So these 3 wouldn't even be called as a witness in my former job because they have no firsthand knowledge.
Mr. Davis.
Look, what you just heard were claims and rhetoric by a man who has spoken falsely and can't deny it. He issued a press release just recently in which he declared that they found an email that contained highly classified information, compromising sources and methods, and the CIA repudiated what he said. Does he acknowledge that he got that wrong? Another fact. He had Sidney Blumenthal, who is an outside friend for many years to Secretary Clinton and Bill Clinton, in front of him for a sealed deposition that Mr. Blumenthal asked to be made public for 10 hours. In 10 hours, fact, the tragedy at Benghazi came up a few minutes out of 10 hours. Fact, he got Huma Abedin, an aide to Secretary Clinton, who knew virtually nothing about Benghazi, with lots of publicity before his committee, and again refused to publish the deposition. Why? So Congressman Gowdy can't deal with the fact that these Republican committees contradict what he is saying. He gives you numbers, he gives you rhetoric, but he doesn't deal with facts, which I just gave you.
I want to show our viewers the committee room. Our camera's now allowed to take live shots from the committee room. Hillary Clinton will be coming into that room a little before 10, we suspect. Lawmakers will be filing in as well. And, of course, there is a big line outside of that committee hearing. Folks that have been lined up very early this morning, they want to get in and have a seat. Reporters as well will be in there. Our cameras will be in there. We're going to continue this discussion throughout today's Washington Journal, leading up to 10 a.m. when the House will gavel in for their session. Of course, we will go to the House when they do so, but our coverage of today's hearing before the Select Committee on Benghazi will be over on C-SPAN 3. You'll be able to watch it there, and if you're unable to tune into the television, you can always go to our website, cspan.org. You can watch it on your desktop, but you can also watch it on your phone because it's mobile friendly. You can also go to C-SPAN Radio. We here locally, and then we also are on XM Sirius channel there. 455, and you can also get the app if you'd like. Let me show it to you on any of your devices. You can get the app, C-SPAN Radio app, and punch on C-SPAN 3, and you'll be able to listen and watch it there.
Excellent.
Yeah, Mr. Davis, I want to show you what the Washington Times has put together. This is the line of questioning they say Republicans will be asking Hillary Clinton. First, personnel on the ground in Libya had asked for security, for more security, yet those requests were not fulfilled. Who made those decisions, and why did they not step up security? Why did the U.S. have a diplomatic mission in Benghazi at that point in September of 2012? The State Department was the first to publicly blame an anti-Islam video as the spark for the attack, though the real-time intelligence on does not make that link. Why did the department reach that conclusion? What did Mrs. Clinton do the night of the attack, and what was her role in formulating the administration's response? And finally, did Mrs. Clinton emails contain information that should not have been sent over an insecure system? And did she personally review all of the messages to decide which to keep and which to return to the government?
Well, first of all, some of those questions are valid. I hope they're asked. There were failures within the State Department prior to and during the terrible tragedy that were identified by Ambassador Pickering and former Chief of Staff Admiral Mullen. And Hillary Clinton commissioned that study, published it, accepted all the recommendations to correct those failures for the future so it can try to prevent this from happening again, and said, I take responsibility. I hope Mr. Gowdy, who is so back-centric, is his words, will state that fact. But there's a misstatement of fact in one of those questions, which is remarkable given the amount of Republicans who have contradicted the assertion. The statement about the origins of this tragedy, that it began with spontaneous protests triggered by an anti-Muslim video, was originally written. This is an undisputed fact. Nobody can dispute this. Originally written, that first sentence in the talking points, by the CIA. The CIA said that they had. The committees of Congress led by Republicans said they had. And if you reread that third question, it will say, why did those mischaracterizations of the origins begin in the State Department, which ignores facts, which ignores Republican findings, ignores what the CIA said, just as Trey Gowdy put a fact out about a sensitive piece of information that the CIA contradicted. I ask everyone, whatever politicians, especially those identified by their fellow Republicans as out to hurt Hillary Clinton, I didn't say that, that's what Kevin McCarthy said. Listen for facts and ask yourself, is Gowdy referring to the other Republican committees that have investigated this matter and criticizing them for not fully investigating? And if he is, I'd like to hear him say that on camera.
Salem, Oregon. Ron, a Republican. You're next, sir.
You know, Hillary says, what does it matter? Well, 4 lives mattered. And, you know, she's the one that chose to get her own server. Why? To hide stuff. Of course. That's a Clinton. You know, a lot of Americans can turn their back and pretend it didn't happen, that she isn't like that, but she is. I mean, those questions need to be answered, and she needs to answer them. And that's all I've got to say. I hope you're right.
Well, I hope you are watching my reply. First of all, you're entitled to your opinion of Hillary Clinton. You obviously don't like her. That is your right. But what you can't do is make up facts. Hillary Clinton was not responsible for those talking points that have been the subject of so much animus by partisan Republicans. And that's Republicans making those findings, as I keep repeating. Secondly, when it comes to taking responsibility for what happened, she certainly did take responsibility, ordered her own report, as I've mentioned many times on this program. And then finally, you just confirmed that the email topic may be controversial, and she already admitted that it was a mistake. But what you can't say, even though you may have just implied it as a matter of fact, that any use of a server or 2 BlackBerries rather than 1 to send emails while she was Secretary of State, those are the 2 issues. Using 2 devices rather than 1 device rather than 2, emails, and the use of a private server. You can't say truthfully, and nobody yet has said, that either of those 2 issues, which she